The city of Townsville, a nice place to live once you get over the whole monster problem. But where there are monsters running amok, the city's loyal protectors are never far behind. That's right, I'm talking about Townsville's very own guardian angels, dispensers of justice and bastions of freedom, Liberty Bell, Harmony Bunny, and Mange. But you may know them better by their alter egos, the Powerpuff Girls. Through it all, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup have stood strong as Townsville's resident dream team. Working together, they can whoop any monster on their tail and send them packing back to Monster Isle. The girls are at their most powerful when they combine their forces into special moves, from the furious flaming feline to the cosmic cannonball to the sassafras or the razzle dazzle or the flower petals of doom, whatever you want to call it. Still, at the end of the day, the Powerpuff Girls are little kids. And it's only natural for little kids to bicker with each other, especially siblings. Now, we all know that the girls would never really truly want to hurt each other. They're sisters after all. But what would happen if the Powerpuff Girls really threw down? I'm talking about a no-holds-barred, one-on-one grudge match for a Powerpuff primacy. Who would come out on top? The answer should be obvious. It's the joy and the laughter herself, Bubbles. Okay, maybe it's not that obvious. No worries though. I'm Akeem and I'm here to tell you why Bubbles is the truest, bluest, strongest Powerpuff Girl on this episode of Cartoon Conspiracy. Of course, it's not a real fight without an official weigh-in. We don't know how much the Powerpuff Girls weigh. Instead, we'll take a look at the next best thing, the power shared between all the Powerpuff Girls. All three of the girls can fly, shoot heat rays from their eyes, and shoot lasers from their hands. They all have super strength, super speed, super durability, and super stamina. That all sounds very, very super. The Powerpuff Girls seem almost invincible, almost. The weakness the girls have are to flypaper and sunburn. We'll cut them a break on the sunburn. It took a close-range solar flare to turn them into lobsters. The flypaper though? Come on, girls. I shouldn't be able to defeat you with a visit from the exterminator. As long as the Powerpuff Girls watch where they step and use a little SPF, they're virtually unstoppable. For the record, there's one particular episode of the Powerpuff Girls called Nothing Special where the girls show off all kinds of crazy powers never seen in any episode. The girls turn into puddles and create shadow clones a la Naruto. Really wacky stuff, guys. Because this episode is considered non-canon by many fans, we'll just leave these one-off powers out of the discussion. I doubt Buttercup's special ability to curl her tongue will give her much advantage anyway, right? In the blue corner, the reigning champion, the joy and the laughter of the Powerpuff Girls, the one, the only, Bubbles. Bubbles is known for emitting supersonic screams. These screams can break glass, crumble buildings, and stun enemies. She's also fluent in Spanish, Japanese, and Squirrel. That's right, guys. Bubbles is known to be easily upset, quick to cry when her sisters tease her. Sure, this could weaken her fighting spirit, but she's also capable of harnessing her negative emotions and turning them into a strength. On the surface, Bubbles is a total sweetheart. She loves animals, singing and drawing pretty flowers. Her best friend in the whole wide world is her stuffed animal Octi. However, underneath Bubbles' sweet exterior dwells a burning fury hotter and brighter than the fires of 1,000 suns. Some might even say it's hotter and brighter than the fiery pits of hell. Isn't that where him lives? I mean, it's less fiery and more pink and fuzzy. Anyways, Bubbles has a dark side to her and she's tapped into it more than one occasion. Bubbles really lets the hate flow through her in the episode Bubble Vicious. After being underestimated by Blossom, Buttercup, and even Professor Utonium, Bubbles sets out to prove just how hardcore she can be. She takes on a level 11 simulation all by herself and comes out battle-hardened and gruff. Buttercup topped out on only level 9, and if we're following the doctrine of Spinal Tap, 11 is the maximum difficulty level. Even when captured and tortured by Mojo Jojo and his level 11 laser beam, of course, Bubbles braves the laser, breaks free, and stops Mojo, all on her own. When pushed, Bubbles is capable of being absolutely ruthless. She tackles Blossom to the ground in a game of Duck Duck Goose, beats the living pulp out of that treacherous talking dog, and goes on a tear through Townsville, not letting even the most minor of crimes go unpunished. As Bubbles put it herself, mercy is for the weak. You would think Bubbles would have learned that she needs her sisters, but no. She was totally fine on her own. The only reason she calms down is because Blossom and Buttercup concede that she is indeed hardcore. What if Bubbles never did calm down though? Had Bubbles' aggression spiraled into something even worse, her powers would have only grown. In the episode Los Dos Mojos, Bubbles goes full on evil. When she's hit on the head with an industrial I-beam, Bubbles believes she is in fact Mojo Jojo. To defeat the Powerpuff Girls, the two remaining ones at least, she expresses her newfound evil in a peculiar way. She shoots red lightning all over the place. It stops Blossom and Buttercup in their tracks. Granted, they were purposefully not fighting back, but that lightning still looks like it stings. Bubbles never did that before, and after being returned to her normal bubbly self, with a second bonk to the head, Bubbles never does it again. There's only one explanation. Bubbles is housing a powerful evil, one so powerful that once released, it cannot be stopped by the other two Powerpuff Girls at least. So just how can Bubbles harness that latent energy? A bonk to the head is too unreliable. She might just wake up as Mojo Jojo again. Redundant speech patterns and all. What she needs is a trigger, a sacrificial Krillin to awaken her slumbering Super Saiyan. You think the blonde hair is just a coincidence, guys? Enter Octi. I can hear you now, but Octi is just a stuffed animal. Bubbles wouldn't turn on her sisters for something that silly. Naysay all you want, naysayers, because she would, and she has. At the top of the episode Octi Gone, Bubbles discovers one of Octi's disembodied tentacles under the girl's bed. She takes her time to mourn for sure, but once she's collected herself, she sets out on a vengeance quest, vowing to find who took Octi and make them pay. And who are the primary suspects, you might ask? Well, her loving sisters, Buttercup and Blossom. Even Miss Keen and the professor are on the chopping block. Like the yellow-haired warrior she is, Bubbles starts seeing red, willing to abandon everything to avenge her beloved Octi. Thankfully, Professor Utonium professes up to the whole thing and apologizes to Bubbles for accidentally running Octi over with his vacuum. He patches Octi up and the world is saved thanks to talking Bubbles down from that weird ledge she was on. I mean, if the professor hadn't said anything, Bubbles likely would have gone on what movie advertisements would refer to as a roaring rampage of revenge, like Kill Bill, only killed, I don't know, everyone else. Alright, so now we know the source of Bubbles' true power and fighting spirit. Let's see how the challengers stack up. In the red corner, pink corner, I guess, the commander and leader of the Powerpuff Girls, Blossom. Blossom is the only Powerpuff Girl with the power of Frost Breath. She first gained this power in the episode Eyesore. From cooling off an overheated classmate to freezing a flaming meteor, Blossom quickly gained control over her newfound ability. But she's more than just a souped-up air conditioner. Trust me. Blossom is hyper-intelligent, a master of combat tactics, and a strong leader with a honed intuition and sense of danger. But unfortunately for her, this is a one-on-one match. A leader without anyone to lead is just a goofball barking orders at nobody. Besides, Bubbles doesn't like how bossy Blossom can be, so if anything, Blossom's penchant for being the leader will just fuel Bubbles' rage. Still, that Frost Breath is nothing to sneeze at. It could definitely give Bubbles' supersonic screams a run for her money. The supersonic screams are just powerful sound waves, and sound is just the vibration of molecules through a medium. When the medium gets colder, the molecules move closer together, move slower, and have less energy. Now, the lowest possible temperature in physics is negative 273.15 degrees Celsius, also known as absolute zero. At absolute zero, molecules cease to move at all. So if Blossom is able to freeze something to absolute zero, the effect of Bubbles' supersonic screams would be severely dampened. Actually, if Blossom could constantly maintain absolute zero with her Frost Breath, Bubbles' supersonic screams would be canceled out entirely. Okay, so maybe Bubbles' voice has been silenced. Don't forget though, she's a Powerpuff Girl, guys. She's got heat vision. If Blossom's ice happens to stifle Bubbles' screams, Bubbles can just zap it away by looking at it. Sure, it could be difficult. Blossom did flash freeze meteors after all. As cold as Blossom's ice may be, Bubbles has a couple of other options to deal with. Remember the episode Bubble Vision? Bubbles saves the day when her glasses refract her heat vision, amplifying its power enough to completely obliterate a giant ant. If her regular heat vision isn't cutting it, all Bubbles has to do is flex her specs and Blossom can kiss her ice goodbye. Blossom made fun of Bubbles for having her glasses anyway, so it would be a nice middle finger to Blossom. If the Powerpuff Girls had fingers. With Blossom's go-to special ability, Thoroughly Trounce, all Bubbles has to do from there is let her vicious nature do the rest. She'll bury Blossom's face in the ground like it's a game of Duck Duck Goose. The leader of the Powerpuff Girls has been retired. Will the next challenger be the one to stop the reigning champ? Who knows? In the green corner, the Powerpuff Girls' toughest fighter, Buttercup. Time for her to put that title to test. Unlike Blossom, Buttercup doesn't have any real fancy tricks up her own sleeves, if they had sleeves, which they don't. What she lacks in gimmicks, she makes up for in sheer power and speed. She's like the Rock Lee of the Powerpuff Girls. She is all about letting her combat skills do the talking, instead of parlor tricks like Frost Breath or supersonic screams. Come to think of it, Buttercup and Rock Lee kinda look like each other. Both wear green and even rock similarly styled hairstyles. Anyway, what really makes Buttercup a unique Powerpuff Girl is her disposition. She's the most aggressive, always itching for a fight, if not just something to wail on. She can be rude, gruff, and is known to pick on others. Bubbles, in particular, has been a repeated target of Buttercup's bullying. In the episode All Chalked Up, Buttercup is relentlessly mean to Bubbles about her chalk drawings. When Buttercup steps on Bubbles' chalk, Bubbles is about to snap, just like the chalk. Bubbles would have totally cracked, and her latent viciousness would have taken over. Instead of venting through chalk drawings, Bubbles' rage would have only been calmed by teaching Buttercup a lesson in bullying. Coming into this fight, Buttercup's realist advantage is her speed. She's the fastest of the Powerpuff Girls, but not by much. In the episode Speed Demon, the girls race home from school. They go so fast that they exceed the speed of light, bending time around them and traveling 50 years into the future. Technically, Buttercup was the first one there, but Blossom and Bubbles were not too far behind. The point is, all of the Powerpuff Girls can go faster than the speed of light. So, for the purpose of this fight, the contest of speed is a wash. I don't want to have to wait hundreds of years to see the end of this battle anyway. Besides, when it comes to speed, Bubbles is no slouch. In the episode Members Only, Bubbles races Email across the world as a test to join the Association of World Supermen. As they're racing, Major Glory states that Email can circumnavigate the globe in 7 seconds. Based on this countdown, Bubbles does it in about 5. She literally smokes Email's standing record, and she doesn't even smoke. The circumference of Earth is 24,901 miles. A little bit of math, we can calculate that Bubbles was traveling at an average speed of nearly 18 million miles per hour. That's nowhere close to the speed of light, but hey, that's faster than you can go, Email. Ha! E-fail. Yeah, get it? The reason Buttercup loses this fight is a simple one: her attitude. Because she's so gung-ho about fighting, Buttercup has a tendency to underestimate her opponents. And as we know, she constantly underestimates Bubbles and how dangerous she actually is. That's a big mistake. Also, if there was any single character in the Powerpuff Girls world who would cause Bubbles to snap, it would most likely be Buttercup. Bubbles has years of built-up anger we're bound to see come out sometime. This time, it just so happens to be in the form of red lightning and unbridled rage. Sorry, Buttercup. As strong as you are, there's no special tools in your superpower arsenal to stop Bubbles. More importantly, you don't have the raw emotional motivation that Bubbles is bringing to this particular match. After the dust has cleared, only Bubbles remains standing proud as the strongest Powerpuff Girl. Is there anyone at all who has a chance at dethroning this colossal cutie? Wait, what? Who is it? Could it really be? Oh wait, it's just Bunny and Bullet. Well, we already know that Bubbles can wallop her sisters. Let's give these two honorary Powerpuff Girls a fair shake against the champ. I don't want to sound like a Buttercup here, but Bunny just doesn't stack up. Where the OG PPGs are made up of sugar, spice, and everything nice, Bunny is composed of artificial sweetener, dirt, and twigs. I mean, who knows what the professor's original formula for everything nice was? I mean, I doubt it was Bunny's bizarre mishmash including crayons, a computer, and a single mackerel. Ugh. But at least Bunny has the most important ingredient, Chemical X. She's got all the same powers as the other Powerpuff Girls. Unfortunately, even if a shoe is covered in frosting, it still still not a cake, so stop trying to eat that. Bunny is strong for sure. In terms of raw strength, she might even outclass Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, but she just doesn't have the combat know-how to compete. At first, she doesn't know the difference between police and robbers. To be fair, she had been alive for like all of 30 seconds and had no context. But even when correcting her mistakes, using too much of her power causes her to become unstable. After putting a beat down on Townsville's thugs, Bunny's body couldn't handle the pressure and exploded. And that was just against normal thugs. Bunny could never maintain her form fighting a monster, let alone a Bubbles. Whoa, faster than a speeding bullet, it's Bullet! Now, for a time, Bullet was officially the fourth Powerpuff Girl. There was an initiation ceremony and everything. An impressive feat considering she's a squirrel. Yeah! It's just amazing what just a drop of Chemical X can do. In addition to the Powerpuff staple superpowers, Bullet has got some skills of her own. As her name suggests, Bullet is fast. I mean, really fast. Faster than a speeding, already said that joke? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I mean, even the Powerpuff Girls have trouble keeping up with her when she's going to rescue the mouse from that hawk. Also, Bullet can chew through sheets of steel and fire acorns out of her mouth like a machine gun. Cute and all, but Bullet doesn't pack quite the same punch as the regular Powerpuff Girls. She even briefly struggles against a hawk. And not just any hawk. It's the hawk that almost killed Bullet before Bubbles rescued her. With her power, Bullet could have turned that hawk into a pile of feathers in an instant. If Bullet can't defeat a simple bird of prey without batting an eye, then she stands no chance against Bubbles. Not Bubbles, but Bubbles. I'm gonna keep making that joke, I'm sorry. The bodies are piling up and it looks like there is no one who can bear the brunt of Bubbles' wrath. Sounds like we're going to have to start thinking even further outside of this box. This 16x9 box. Up until now, we've ignored the 2016 Powerpuff Girls reboot. But desperate times call for desperate measures, guys. There is one character exclusive to the reboot that has got the right stuff to take Bubbles down. Enter Blistina Francesca Francia Merriam, Alicia Utonium, or as she's more commonly known, Bliss. If you don't know, Bliss is actually the original Powerpuff Girl. The original! She's an OG before the OGs. She's Professor Utonium's first attempt to create the perfect little girl. As you might have guessed, she's composed of the classic trio, sugar, spice, and everything nice, but with a little twist. Instead of Chemical X, Bliss is made up of the equally mysterious Chemical W. What does that mean? What's the difference? Well, for starters, Bliss's abilities are drastically different from the original Powerpuff Girls. Not the original, but the original. You know what I mean. She's able to freely manipulate objects with her mind, from the size of an apple to a giant robot's arm. I mean, that's impressive. Also, she can teleport instantly. Who needs racing when you can blink to the finish line at the word go? Bliss is also capable of producing a kind of stasis force field. She uses it on the Powerpuff Girls to hold them in place, and they're unable to break free. On top of all of that, Bliss is insanely strong. Of all the Powerpuff Girls, she's the only one strong enough to push Saturn back into its orbit after it nearly crashed into Earth. By the way, that's about 5.7 times 10 on the 26 power kilograms. That's a lot of zeros, guys, trust me. Now, is this all because of Chemical W? Well, perhaps. We don't really know what Chemical W is, but the periodic table might shed some light. Now, while there's no symbol X on the periodic table of elements, W is the symbol for tungsten. Tungsten has the highest melting point of all metals and is so durable that it's fused with other metals to create more durable alloys. An interesting property, considering Bliss is able to fuse with others to create more powerful fighters. She's fused with him and the other three Powerpuff Girls, both with impressively powerful results. Tungsten is also used in light bulbs for its conductivity, which certainly explains Bliss's other ability. Like Bubbles, Bliss is emotionally unstable. Experiencing strong emotions causes her to lose control of her power and erupt in an explosion of lightning. When Bliss was younger, even something as trivial as not having milk for her cereal would set her off. But what makes Bliss even even more dangerous than Bubbles is she can lose control from positive emotions too. There are so many ways for Bliss to erupt compared to Bubbles. Throwing these two in the ring would be a clash of emotional titans. I picture red and blue lightning flying everywhere, heat rays and lasers shooting in all directions, and maybe some hair pulling. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, I have to give it to Bliss. As fast as Bubbles is, she can't teleport like Bliss. All Bliss would need to do is encapsulate Bubbles in a stasis field, teleport behind her, drop the field, and land a single Saturn-sized punch. Looks like we finally found our contender. The champion has finally been dethroned. Sorry to burst your bubble, Bubbles. How many times am I gonna make Bubbles jokes? Oh, 5 more times? Okay. Far as the original series is concerned, Bubbles is still top Powerpuff. I don't care that there's a new kid on the block, really. Well, I guess she's a teenager, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. Bubbles will always be the strongest in my eyes. The true joy and laughter that she is. I hope this video has been a joy for you guys watching at home. I'm sure there's a blizzillion arguments you can make for why one of the other Powerpuff Girls are stronger. Now, let's hear it in the comment section down below. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, guys. Once again, the day is saved thanks to Cartoon Conspiracy. I'm your host, Akeem, saying thanks for watching, and always remember, guys, Frederator loves you.